thank you for being here. And of course, I'm joined by Governor Elect Dayton. And it's, I think, important to just observe at the onset that the peaceful transition of democracy is a beautiful thing. And we have in Minnesota, in this country, a grand tradition of the peaceful transition of power from one leader to the other. And whether that's at the national level or a state level or the local level, we celebrate that grand tradition in our great country, in our great state. And today is another fine example of that. Governor-elect Dayton and I have had a chance to get to know each other, not just today, but in preceding years at various events for the military and for the National Guard and other events where our paths have crossed over the years. I've enjoyed his company, and I really respect his commitment, his long and sincere and genuine commitment to public service. While he and I may not agree on every policy issue, we do agree on the need to serve Minnesota and doing what's best for the people of Minnesota as best we can discern it, as best that we can put those issues and efforts forward. But Governor-elect Dayton is facing a tremendous opportunity and a tremendous challenge, and our administration in these last few weeks and months have prepared diligently for the transition. Our commissioners and others in the administration have prepared all the information that they can to try to provide the incoming administration the information that they need in a timely fashion to ensure the smooth transition of the administrations. There's a lot for an incoming governor to absorb and to do. Governor-elect Dayton will be very busy in the days and weeks and months to come with a lot of challenges and responsibilities on his shoulders and his administration. But I know that he's up to the task, and again, he continues with his commitment to public service and to service of Minnesota. And I know that the people of Minnesota are now looking to him for that leadership and direction that the state will look for during his next 4 years. Also, today is a ceremonial passing of the baton. I'm still governor for a couple more weeks, but really this represents the kind of watershed event where the new governor steps forward and begins to make announcements about putting together the administration and the preparations and proposals for the legislative session and the like. And I know Governor-elect Dayton will comment on that in his remarks. But on behalf of our administration, Governor-elect Dayton, we welcome you. We congratulate you on your victory. Thank you. And we wish you the very best as you take over the governorship of Minnesota.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Governor. And I've been rehearsing all morning how to be funnier without a grimacing smile. So pardon me if I still show my self-consciousness. I want to echo what Governor Pawlenty said. I appreciate very much his invitation. And we just had a very good meeting, a continuation of the meeting we had shortly after the election, where, of course, it was still matters are unresolved. And I very much appreciate Mrs. Pawlenty inviting my sons and myself, the governor graciously agreeing to give me a ride over to the residence so I can get past security there. But this is, as the governor just said, really what democracy is all about. Yesterday, Representative Emmer, a member of the other party, graciously conceded the election. And this, in the weeks ahead, this transition from one political party to another in a responsible way, in a way that respects that Governor Pawlenty has served the people of Minnesota over these last 8 years through their electoral will, and now I have that opportunity for the next 4 years. Is really those of us who are involved in politics. Well, we do disagree on matters. Understand that's the strength and the greatness of our democracy. I've always said it's the countries that only have one political party or one leader to choose from, who have far worse governance than we are so privileged and blessed to have in this country. So again, I appreciate Governor Pawlenty's support and his offer of a continuity, which I share, and as part of that, as I informed the governor just now, part of that continuity, I've offered to reappoint the Commissioner of Transportation, Tom Sorrell. I had a chance to meet with him just recently. It was not exactly the way we intended to conduct this process, but he had another opportunity elsewhere. So it was a matter of time urgency to make this decision. So I will, on January 3rd, ask him to continue on as Commissioner of Transportation. But I want to just also just commend the governor because of his commitment to our troops. He's been to Iraq how many times, sir?
5 times.
5 times. I've been there 3 times. I know the kind of personal courage it takes and the kind of commitment. And I know, having served on the Armed Services Committee and asked the military, you know, are visits such as his and mine important to the troops, and always was told yes. I mean, that it means so much for them to know that they have the support of the people back home as reflected by the leadership. And when he and I, when I was a senator, faced the horrible moments in time to go to the various funeral services or wakes around the state of Minnesota, Governor Pawlenty and Mrs. Pawlenty were always there. Every time. I went as often as I could, except when I had to be in Washington, but they were there every time. And I know from talking to veterans and veterans organizations around the state how much they have told me that the best I could do is to continue to emulate the support that he's given our troops, the support he's given to veterans, and the improvements he's made in the quality of services to veterans around our state. So, Governor, I think that is one of your great legacies. And again, I appreciate this opportunity to make this transition with you. We'll work together over these next 2 weeks to make it go as smoothly as possible for Minnesota, as evidenced by the fact that, among other things, the highways in the Minnesota in the wintertime are going to continue to have the continuity of leadership and protection of our public.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate that. Governor-elect, I should say, not Senator. Operator, if you're on the phone and you want to ask the rural Minnesota press members if they want to queue up for a question, we'll come to that in just a moment. And in the meantime, we'll take questions from those in the room. And if you could just hold on with your questions for 1 second while we give the operator a chance to queue up our rural Minnesota media friends. Operator, go ahead.
Thank you. And on the audio portion, to ask a question, please press *1.
And operator, we'll come back to you to see if anybody's in the queue in a minute. But for those in the room, I also appreciate Governor-elect Dayton's agreement to keep his German Shepherds at home this afternoon. We would love to have them over to the residence, but we have at the residence currently a 9-pound Yorkie Bichon named Maisie that would probably quickly become lunch for the governor-elect's dogs. But he assured me those German Shepherd dogs are...
More importantly, we got rid a couple of years ago of my son's 8-foot-long boa constrictor snake, which would be a much greater threat to your dog.
Yes, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Yes, he did.
So he's officially your first time.
He is. Well, he's first one we're announcing today, and the only commissioner that and it's because of an exceptional circumstance, and it contradicts what I said. I realized previously, but without betraying his own professional options, but he was in a situation where he had, given the high degree of respect he has elsewhere in the country, had another situation, and it was essential to make that decision quickly. And again, I commend the Governor Pawlenty. I think it's a real credit to him that he's appointed somebody who, the quick soundings that we did nationally and also here in Minnesota, is enormous respect of the employees, of the public he serves, of the other professionals, and he's a consummate professional. And as I said to the governor, you know, my model for a commissioner of transportation is someone like Dick Braun, who served, I believe, as under Governor Perpich, and then under Governor Quee, and then under Governor Perpich, and I'm not sure whether he continued to Governor Carlson or retired, but somebody who's a consummate professional, run that very important agency, and just make sure, especially in the wintertime to Minnesotans, that the highways are plowed and sanded, and that their lives are going to be protected.
Okay, other questions?
Are there any other Pawlenty's commissioners that you would consider keeping on?
You know, this, as I said, this is an exception to the part that we really are in, as I said yesterday, in the beginning of this process. So this really came up unexpectedly as much to me as it did to anyone else. And so we're really in the beginning stage, but anyone in Minnesota is welcome to apply, and anyone and everyone will be considered.
You had said that you have lists of names for your commissioner positions. Are any of Pawlenty's commissioners?
You know, I don't know to be. There are others who are in high-level positions who have applied, but I'm not. I'd have to go back and look. I can't give you the complete answer. I know there's some others that are in the high-level positions who are career people who have applied.
What about the long tradition of Gene Hugheston as agriculture commissioner? Maybe a world record?
I think Governor-elect said he's going to go through the applications and make decisions later on the rest of those appointments.
Governor?
You got to learn to tell Rachel no right out of the gate. This is lesson number one. You got to really rein.
I want some lessons.
One
Maybe
lesson.
I'll just sit over here and you just
Rein, yeah.
What did you
You
talk
got to limit Rachel. That's.
What were you talking about? What kinds of things do you talk about when you ceremonially pass the baton?
Well, Pat, we met earlier and talked about a number of substantive issues, and we had a little bit of that today. Had a small tour of the office, and of course, one of the first things I wanted to show Governor Dayton is the all-important bathroom back there that is necessary at times, and a little bit of the layout of the office. But also just, he shared with me his decision about retaining Commissioner Sorrell, and I applaud that decision. Commissioner Sorrell is a consummate professional, and MnDOT has been stabilized and now forward-leaning under his leadership, I think, in a remarkable way. And I really applaud you for that decision, Governor-elect Dayton. And then, we've talked about the transition over at the residence, and we're going to be going there next, and the First Lady will greet us, and we'll talk about residence-related issues there. But we anticipate, particularly at the staff level, that there'll continue to be this dialogue between now and January 3rd about whatever Governor-elect Dayton needs. We're going to get it to him as promptly and professionally and fully as we can. Our commitment to him and the people of Minnesota is to make this transition smooth and professional. Like I said, we understand somewhat uniquely the challenges that he faces in the coming months, trying to put together a swearing-in ceremony, an inaugural, having to put together the transition, getting a budget ready, a bonding bill ready, all within the next 60 days. That's a tall order, even for the most experienced of public leaders and public servants, so we want to be as helpful to him as we can.
Did you discuss policy at all?
These transitions aren't always filled with love. How do you recall your transition, Governor?
My transition was terrific. Governor Ventura was incredibly gracious, incredibly professional. He and his team provided us with all the information we needed and requested. They provided it in a timely manner. They welcomed us. They made the transition easy and smooth. And I really appreciate Governor Ventura, in particular, his way that he handled his time post-governorship in terms of just befriending me. We've been out at a number of events together, and he's always, even though we haven't agreed on everything, there's been a graciousness from Governor Ventura that I really appreciate. And he's probably not listening to this at this moment, but I thank him and I appreciate him. I respect him not only for the tremendous job he did in helping in the transition and leading it, but the graceful manner in which he's conducted himself, at least towards our administration, since he's left office.
Governor-elect Dayton, have you asked Governor Pawlenty for any advice on how to deal with a legislature controlled by the opposite party? And Governor Pawlenty, have you offered him any advice?
No, that would be a subject for a longer discussion than we had time for today. But I've had a lunch with Governor Carlson and a separate lunch with Governor Quee in the last couple of weeks, and I'd welcome that opportunity with the governor sometime off the record and to get that, because as both of them said to me, that it is an experience that you have to live through to really understand all of the challenges involved. So I would welcome that, and I'm still trying to reach both Governor Anderson and Governor Ventura to have those conversations with them as well.
Governor Pawlenty, have you given him any advice, or do you have any to offer now?
No, but Governor Dayton mentioned he wants to meet with all the former governors, and I'll soon be in that category, and I'll be happy to meet with them. And I think most governors would say, relative to the legislature, there are some inherent powers that the governor has, any governor, whether it be Governor-elect Dayton or me or previous governors or future governors, that give you a pretty powerful platform. And if you choose to use that, you can. I think most governors would say it gives you more than a fair shot of trying to reach accommodation and get things done with the legislature.
Governor, back to Governor Ventura. He made a pledge when he left office not.
Are you talking to me or Governor-elect Dayton? Are you talking to me?
First,
I'm talking to me.
Governor Ventura, when he left office, made a pledge not to criticize his successor, you. He seems to have kept that pledge. Do you take that same?
I'll make it more difficult for him.
I'll repeat what Governor Ventura said to me, and I remember it very well. And one time when we had a chance, when he got his new Porsche, we had a chance to go. This was after I was governor. He got a new Porsche, and he came over and visited and took me for a ride on 94. And suffice it to say, we left the troopers behind pretty quickly. But nonetheless, he said something to me in those early days of the transition. He said, look, I know how tough this job is. And he said, you and I aren't always going to agree on everything. And unless something, really strikes my chord or really goes off in a direction, I'm going to try to, be respectful of how difficult the job is and not be unnecessarily, critical or gratuitous in my criticisms. And each governor does it differently, and I don't want to cast aspersions or say anything about any other governors. Everybody has different styles, different approaches, different, appetites for these things, and each person has to find their own way in that regard. I can just tell you what Governor Ventura said and what he did, and I can just tell you I appreciated it.
Does Governor Dayton make that more difficult?
Well, we don't know that yet. No, we're here to celebrate Governor Elect Dayton's election, and like I said earlier, the peaceful transition of power in a democracy is a beautiful thing, and we celebrate that today in Minnesota. We celebrate, again, even though we don't have agreement on all the policy issues, a common commitment to this great state, its people, and the ethic of public service. And Governor-elect Dayton reflects that in his record and his commitment, and I respect that.
Governor-elect Dayton, what do you think about personally right now as you're standing up here?
Can you identify yourself to those of us who are unfamiliar with you at the Capitol? Oh, I know.
Personal thoughts.
I haven't had time to really think about that, but I was corrected because I said that I hadn't been in here in 20 years until the transitional meeting with Governor Pawlenty shortly after the election. But I was actually, somebody with better memory than I reminded me that after I was elected senator, I did meet here with Governor Ventura, and very much the same spirit that I'd been elected then just to the Senate, and he was then in the middle of his term, but we were elected to serve the same people, the people of Minnesota, as Governor Pawlenty has been, and now I have been. So, but it really, I have not looked around this room. It's really, an amazing room, and it is pretty indescribable to be standing here. I don't think it's really struck me the import of that yet in this passage of time. And of course, if I, reflect back to not being here in 20 years, I have to try to deceive myself that I was, 17 at the time, which is not the case. But
But has it sunk in on a new level today? You seem more lighthearted. Yesterday still had seriousness about it.
well, yes, I've had a chance to assimilate reality. Governor Quee actually at lunch told me it would take about 6 months before somebody would say governor, and I wouldn't turn over my shoulder to look and see who he's referring to. So it does take a while to absorb all this. But we've had meetings this morning. I had this meeting with Commissioner Sorrell, and so it really, in a sense, it really has been a transition for me back to the transition, and to allow me now to devote almost all of my time and energy to that important and now even more time limited challenge to try to assemble an administration to be ready to go on January 3rd.
Governor-elect Dayton, the U.S. Secretary of Transportation today announced that they're pulling funding for the Wisconsin link of the high-speed rail. How should Minnesota proceed?
I haven't. First I heard of that, and so I can't respond to that.
Well, what are your thoughts in general? I mean, you've known that the governor-elect of Wisconsin is not a fan of it, wanted to kill the project. You have plenty of time to think about how. Well,
the shift, of course, the changes in leadership in Wisconsin and in Minnesota, both the executive branch and also with the change with Congressman Oberstar being replaced by Congressman-elect Kravach is going to have consequences for transportation that I haven't even had a chance to discuss with Commissioner Sorrell, but I'm aware of the issues for Minnesota from a standpoint of discussing with everyone from Winona and that corridor to Rochester and their interests, and Duluth, of course, and theirs, and we'll see. If you want my general view, having been to China 6 times in this decade, what we're talking about here, and of course progress is in progress, but is really mid-speed rail. High-speed rail is getting on a train in downtown Shanghai and going 240 miles an hour to the airport. And even the bullet trains in Western Europe, which have been in existence for 20, 30 years, and the trains in China now that routinely travel at about 180 miles an hour, show that in general how far behind this country is, and you apply that across the country from the East Coast corridor. If you want me, let me digress for just a moment to my Senate to experience 1/3 of the flights that leave from between Boston and Atlanta land at an airport within that corridor. If we had high-speed rail along that corridor, you'd dramatically change the air traffic congestion that affects Minnesota as well. Anyone trying to get in and out of the East Coast knows, as well as the mode of travel. So in general, this country faces a challenge to make those investments in infrastructure that are going to produce long-term results, just as when President Eisenhower built the interstate highway system, we were the beneficiaries of that for the next 50 years.
Governor-elect Dayton, are there some current DFL lawmakers who have applied for cabinet positions, and if so, are they under consideration?
Everyone's under consideration.
But have some lawmakers?
Some have applied, and everyone's under consideration.
Can you give us an idea of how many have applied?
I really don't have a number for you.
Would you consider asking some of Governor Pawlenty's commissioners stay on temporarily?
I haven't considered it. I haven't thought about it. This situation, as I say, interrupted the flow of the process for the very immediate reason that Commissioner Sorrell had, and a very immediate need to make a very quick decision, which I feel very good about. I mean, because we had a chance to do vetting, and again, I think Governor Pawlenty made an excellent appointment and is recognized as such. But I haven't had a chance to consider the others and what the options might be. I asked Governor Pawlenty, actually, one of the conversations, I asked him where he had held his two inaugurals, and we agreed that I suggested that he limit his valedictory remarks to 2 hours, and I would limit my inaugural remarks to 1.5 hours. So, I'm sorry?
I believe he had a hockey-related party at one of his inaugurals. Do you think that?
Well, he has one out. Saw a picture in his office there that says the puck drops here. Of course,
the puck. Right?
The puck. Representative Emmer had a billboard that said the puck stops here. So I guess I'll have to find something in between that has a proper hockey motive to it. Yes.
And what kind of tone would you seek in this time of economic distress for an inaugural?
Well, as I said yesterday, the priority is jobs and economic development. And if I look around this room now that you had a chance to reflect on Cindy's question, I remember Rudy Perpich here, and the times I was here as Commissioner of Economic Development, it was about jobs. It was about how to encourage economic growth. And that will certainly be the primary topic of conversation.
I'm talking about your inaugural celebration.
Well, as I say, I really haven't had the time to give any real thought to that. So I think I can't give you a response to what the theme, and I can't even tell you today what the location. And thanks to Representative Emmer, I do know that it'll be on January 3rd.
Governor-elect Dayton, when would you anticipate deciding on a chief of staff, and what role? Lots of names have been out there, Mike Patch, Tina Smith. Wondering if you've asked anyone yet, and also what kind of role do you anticipate the chief of staff having, your chief of staff, in terms of a gatekeeping role? Do you expect that chief of staff to day in, kind of set the agenda for you?
Well, there's a biblical quotation, in due time all things shall be revealed unto thee, sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. And I never quite understood why the King James Version, which is my preferred, said the evil thereof, so because it's not always that. So tomorrow, in due time, things will be revealed unto thee. Sufficient unto tomorrow is the goodness thereof.
Well, there's a number of things, Tom, but it's similar to Governor-elect Dayton. When I came in, there was a very large budget deficit. I think back then it was 4.6 or 4.8, up from 2.2 the previous forecast, or something in those ranges. And so that was a challenge, but I knew more or less that was coming. One of the things I reflect on, and I'll have a chance, this isn't the day for my reflections, it's a day to celebrate Governor-elect Dayton's assuming of the office. But I'll have a chance to visit with you guys some more if you want in the next couple of weeks on larger reflections. But as Governor-elect Dayton mentioned, the impact of going to a war zone, and for me, Iraq 5 times, and Afghanistan 3 times, and seeing, feeling, smelling, hearing the sights and sounds and emotions and concerns of war and the people who are fighting the war was undescribably impactful. And I will remember that, for the rest of my life, and I'll remember the fortitude and the courage and the steadfast nature of the people who serve there, their commitment to this country, the courage and the patriotism that they reflected in their words and their deeds. And I knew that. It's one thing to know that, and to read about it or to study it, but to go there and to see it firsthand and up close and have a chance to be part of what they do day to day in the context of a war is a really remarkable and almost undescribable set of emotions and sentiments. And I couldn't be more proud of the men and women who serve from Minnesota and on behalf of our country. And that just really dramatically drove that point home for me.
Will the two of you be meeting anymore in the next couple of weeks?
I'm going to just say to Governor-elect Dayton, anything he needs, a lot of it, candidly, Don. I'm kidding. Candidly, Don. It is. It's most of it is transmitting information on a staff level. But if the governor-elect needs anything at a more strategic or macro level, I'm going to say I would be available to him now or after I leave office, and do that confidentially, publicly, whatever he needs. I'm here to try to help him in this transition and beyond.
Governor, do you want to take some? Are there any
Yeah.
privacy issues when it comes to constituency contact or anything that you can't hand over to Governor-elect Dayton?
I don't think so. No, I think, the data practices laws apply, to the governor's office broadly. So if there was some constituent casework files, the same kind of limitations that we have with those files, that they would be protected under the next office. So it wouldn't be any need to disrupt that. Let's go to the operator. Operator, if you have any questions queued up, we'll be happy to take those now.
I'm showing no questions. Once again, to ask a question, please press *1.
And just jump in, operator, if there are any last questions in the room. If not,
Governor-elect Dayton, has the office changed at all since 1990?
This certainly remains the same. This is a building that is not subject to a ready change, as those of you down in the Capitol Press Corps facilities know better than I. But it's an incredible building.
Have you been over to your transition headquarters, getting a new one, and you know where it is?
No, because we've been operating out of the, we have not had that available to us until this time, and I'm not sure. I'll have to check with the attorneys whether we have it now or whether we wait till the certificate of election, which, as you know, has still not been issued by the Secretary of State and can't be by law for 7 days. So it's just one of these matters I haven't gotten to yet.
yeah, it's at the Department of Admin building, right just a couple blocks away, and the budget is there, the lights and equipment and everything's ready to go. So I think Governor-elect Dayton's team, I'm sure, will be moving in there, if not today, very shortly.
Can the money be used to pay for what he's already done in transition?
Yeah, I would defer to the law in that regard, but I think it's the intent is to provide, I think it was 160, 180?
162.
And some change, $162,000, and the intent was to support in the transition. So I presume the legislature or the auditor would give the governor-elect some latitude if he's incurred some expenses. At least that would be consistent with the intent of the law, to help with the transition costs.
Is that enough to do the job, or does he even have to go knock on somebody's door?
Well, I can only reflect on our own experience. We had some space over at the Centennial office building. The bureaucracy more broadly provides help, so people who are current state employees can lend a hand answering the phone and doing some of any tasks that may be needed. I think with just 30 days or so to go before the official inaugural and Governor-elect Dayton taking over this office, we think that amount would be sufficient based on the last experience.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you very much, everybody. And Don, I'm just teasing you on your nickname there.
There's nothing like that. You don't have to use it, I know.
Yeah. See ya.
Thank you very much.